Good evening, Mayor and Council. The recommended action before you this evening is that the Town Council approves the Mayor's written communication to the California Fish and Game Commission. As the Council is aware, the State Fish and Game Commission has been petitioned to list the Joshua tree as a threatened species under the California Endangered Species Act. The Commission is scheduled to consider the petition at their meeting scheduled for June 24th and 25th of 2020. Included in your packet this evening is the draft letter that is prepared for the Mayor's signature, which outlines the town's concerns regarding the petition. In addition to that, in your packet this evening is material from prior commission hearings on consideration of listing of the Joshua tree as threatened under state law. That concludes the staff presentation, and we'd be happy to answer any questions following public comment.
All right, so would there be any public comment on item number 8, the fish and game issue with the Joshua trees? Would anybody like to comment?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2 requests to speak. First by Monica Zimmerich, followed by Art Miller.
Good evening. I'm Monica Zimmerich. I'm the president of the Joshua Tree Gateway Association of Realtors. As representative of our board of directors and our membership, I would like to express that we strongly oppose this petition, but we are in support of the mayor's letter. While the beautiful Joshua tree is our association's namesake, and we want to protect them for many generations, not at the expense of homeowner rights and our future generations' ability to purchase affordable housing. Joshua trees are already protected. In fact, there is over 2.3 million acres of the Joshua Tree National Park in the Mojave Preserve. They are protected habitat. So my question is to you, who is going to protect our small community of home and landowners? This petition would strip away rights of owners and give them to an already protected species. Furthermore, regulations already exist to require builders and homeowners to obtain permits for relocation of Joshua trees. What justification is there to impinge on the rights of our residents? If this petition is accepted, one of the few remaining areas of affordable housing in our state will be lost, and we can expect to see that change eventually impact our own residents being priced out of our neighborhoods. The cost of proposed studies will not only cause the few remaining contractors and developers to leave, it will make it impossible to build cost-effective homes. It defies all logic to violate rights of property owners for a Joshua tree that is already protected on both state and federal levels. This will heavily affect our current housing and will cause prices to skyrocket due to lack of availability and high demand. Again, I appeal to your better judgment. Why are we here debating the protection of an already protected plant? And I ask the question, who is going to protect our families' children, and our generations to come from debilitating high home costs? Thank you.
Next is Art Miller.
Yes, thank you, council and staff. I too, as a longtime resident of this community, a realtor, I agree with the sentiment that Monica presented to the council tonight. I would like to read a portion of a letter signed approved by the Yucca Valley Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And they say, we write in strong opposition to the petition submitted by the Center for Biological Diversity to list the Western Josh tree as a threatened species under the California Endangered Species Act. The petition is submitted by them fails to provide scientific evidence to substantiate the decline in the Joshua Tree population. Instead, the petition predicts a future decline due to global climate change. The proposed listing is nothing more than a solution. Instead, the petition predicts a future decline. The proposed listing is nothing more than a solution in search of a problem. Much of the western Joshua Tree population resides on federally protected land and state reserves, giving them the highest protection. Outside jurisdictions, they are protected under state law through the California Native Plant Act, which requires permitting for removal. This is going to be devastating for the whole area, not just Yucca Valley, not just 29 Palms, but this whole area. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? I know we had some email comments. Are we going to read those, or are we just going to sum them up?
Yeah, with Mayor, because of the number that we have, and we also have people here that spoke in person, if I may just read the names of those who submitted comments. And these are commenting in opposition of the letter that was proposed. So they're in opposition. And the comments I received were from Julia Gonzalez, Karen Cagill, Brad Napentek, Joanne Bolin, John Henson, Cindy Zacks, and Georgianne Dean. So, and those letters were distributed amongst the council prior to the meeting, and they're also available here to the public for public review.
Can members of the public that want to see the letters, can they email you and get a copy of the letters? Is that allowed?
Yes, yeah, they can email me.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and they were all in opposition. Some were more lengthy than others, and but they all were definitely in opposition. So, with that being said, let's bring it back to. Well, let me ask one more time. Any other public comment? Clint Stoker, come on up. Is that Clint? Oh, it's not Clint. You look like Clint. Kind. Not now. Oh, okay. Okay. So item number 8, we'll close public comment and we'll take it back to the council. So let's start with council member, how about online? Council member Dennison.
All right, well, just quickly, I'm going to just go back to a statement that I've used since I was elected. And I had talked about environmental stewardship, and it's very important. It's one of the things that drew me to the area was the beauty of the desert, the rural feeling of the desert. And certainly I thought the first time I saw a Joshua tree, I go, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And it was just different for me growing up in Orange County, but I've grown to love that and that style of plant, which is normal out here. The yucca has the same kind of attraction, the choyas, which we've all felt, and the Joshua tree. But one of the things that I used under environmental stewardship that was important to me was I had talked about developing cooperative plans with developers. And that was to ensure best management practices for environmental impact studies, that they are included and considered during project development in the town and the surrounding areas. And that's important to me. And the word in there is cooperation. And what we're being proposed right now doesn't really include the part of cooperation. It talks about a blanket order that would cover the entire state of California with no concessions made for development in areas. Projects would be hindered. Okay. The cost would be too much for people to build within our community. People that have purchased land, that have thought about building the retirement home here, those kinds of things could be halted. And that's concerning to me. So right now in its present form, I don't believe it's acceptable. And I would like to support the discussion that we've talked about with the mayor's letter that we'd like to present. And that's all I have to say today.
Thank you, Councilmember Dennison. Let's ask Mayor Pro Tem Abel now.
Well, earlier I was mentioning about one of the things that makes this area so unique and wonderful, the people. And that's what really drew me when I came up here from the Orange County area also, was just how friendly and how welcoming everyone was. But also, I think we all agree, we all have just a real love for our ecosystem up here. That's what makes it unique. Our starry nights, our majestic Joshua trees and yuccas, and all those desert fauna that just make this a really unique and wonderful place. So I don't know anybody that lives up here that doesn't appreciate the Joshua tree. I would have to agree with our council member that a blanket order that was proposed placing on an endangered species is overreaching and would really, really hurt so many people. We have a very small community, but we also have a community that has a very fixed income or very low income, and to have that kind of economic burden placed upon our citizens if they were just to have to remove a tree, or perhaps somebody wanted to build a home. In California, we talk about the lack of affordable housing and how that's really a statewide problem and issue. This would only add to the cost of being able to develop a single family home. And so again, I think we already have some wonderful safeguards already in our ordinances and our planning department, where you can't just come through and scrape off the desert and leave it looking barren. You have to go through our permit process and try to relocate Joshua trees if they happen to be in the path of that small single family home. So I think we all want to protect the Joshua tree. I don't think this particular order from Fish and Game is the correct way of going. So I'm in support of sending out a letter in opposition.
Thank you. Councilmember Schooler.
Well, I agree that we have sufficient protections in place, and this petition is not in response to some mass random sacrificing of Joshua trees. I don't believe that occurs, and I believe we've been responsible here, and I believe the protections in place in the native plant ordinance are sufficient. It's also a little bit alarming that we would have to, and I understand this to be the case, could have to go, if you had a diseased Joshua tree, if you had one that was maybe a branch about ready to fall and into a pathway or on a car, or that would require a state permit to get that, and considerable expense to be able to do that maintenance on a tree like that. There are very few communities in California, or relatively few communities in California affected by it, so it's easy to feel targeted somewhat by this. Another thought that came up is if somebody had to connect to the sewer and there was a Joshua tree in the way of that connection, would they have to get a permit from the state and spend thousands of dollars to do so with a considerable delay? So it doesn't seem like it's necessary to me. I think we've got sufficient protections in place, and so I am in favor of the letter that is opposed to the petition.
Very confusing how we word that, isn't it? All right, thank you. Councilmember Lombardo.
Let's go. I am also in agreement with my fellow council members. I think they have stated it very clearly that this, the letter states correctly our opposition because of the overburdensome regulations that would be placed upon us by putting the Joshua tree as an endangered species. And I don't think that it will, the Joshua tree is already protected by our local ordinance, the state ordinance, and the federal ordinances. So I believe that it really will just add an extreme burden to the town for development of single-family homes and infrastructure that is necessary without any real benefit to the Joshua tree in our area. So I oppose this change of the regulation, and I am in favor of the mayor's letter. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Right, thank you. I'm going to tell just a little story, and I'll give my opinion. When I moved here in 1976, since then I've always loved the high desert and its fauna, and even Joshua trees and a lot of native plants. I've collected seeds and tried to grow them myself. Joshua trees included. I've noticed that this year I had like 3 sprouts of Joshua trees, not even next to the Joshua tree. They just were growing in the yard from all the rain, I guess. And so I really want to cultivate those. That's really important to me. And I think all of us here care about Joshua trees a lot. I mean, that's, the yucca is related to it, and that's our town symbol. So that's really important. And I think we have more Joshua trees than Joshua Tree does, the Joshua Tree area, not the national park. But I actually had a Joshua tree fall across my driveway. I couldn't get out of my driveway. And it made me think of that because I had to go to I'd take pictures of it, go to the town, I had to get out somehow and go to the town, and I had to get a permit, and then I had the Joshua tree moved, so it wasn't in the way. I still have the stump in my yard, and so the native creatures can still, live in that dead stump. But the point is what if I had to go to the state to do that, and it was a month and a half, or a month, or 3 months, or however long it was, and it cost a significant amount of money. The town saw my need, and the permit was free, and I got to move my Joshua tree that was fallen in the road. So that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. And I would not be against the ordinance if it didn't include cities, towns, and private land. If it was only public land, I mean, that's fine, but cities and towns have to survive, they have to operate, and so that's part of my reasoning. I mean, I have a lot of reasoning behind it. And a lot of people leave California. Why do they leave California? Because of all the red tape and the cost to do everything. Now we're just adding more red tape and adding cost. So we're just adding more to it. And maybe the whole state doesn't get it, because if you live in Cucamonga or Temecula, you don't have Joshua trees in your area. But there are certain communities around here, even LA County, Lancaster, us, Phelan, Victorville. There's a lot of communities that have Joshua trees. So anyway, I think this definitely needs to be reworked, and I'm in favor of signing the letter also. So that is my comment.
Mayor, I'd like to add one other thing. I want to thank you for pulling the items so that we could definitely share, our love for our desert and our ecosystem and Joshua trees, so there's no misconception with the public that it's not that we oppose a Joshua tree, but we just oppose this particular fish and game petition. So thank you for doing that and making that clear to the public as well. I'd like to go ahead and move item number 8 in support of the letter.
I'd like to second that.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes.